So, tonight, what I'm contemplating is just the sort of disconnect that I experience a lot from the rest of the world and how it impacts my experience of just being a human. And I mean, it's complicated because it's due to a multitude of things. It's not just one thing. Um, and there's a lot of loneliness baked into it for sure. But it's not your standard loneliness, because I'm pretty happy with who I am for the most part. Um, I've done a lot of the work. Like, I've, um, yeah, I think uh, every time I think I've peaked, I'm like, I don't think a person could possibly, like, work on themselves more than I have. I end up learning more lessons and more things happen. More changes, more positive changes. Life gets better. I figure more things out. But one of the things I think in my life that's made it hard to connect to others, I don't think I had this it's weird because I don't think I had this problem when I was a little bit younger and dumber, to quite this extent. Now, I don't know if I connected with others that well. In fact, I know I didn't, because the majority of my attempts at relationships and friendships kind of would come on and then fade out really fast. Um, or, they'd come on, it'd be really good for like a month and then fade out. So that's the most common pattern that I've experienced. Um, I've got like a few very close friends, and I've got a good network of people, which I know is like not common, for people that are more similar to me. A lot end up very profoundly isolated. Um, but still, I sometimes feel very isolated, even though I know there are people in my corner that, like, that are, I think, concerned about my well-being and were, like, aware of how I'm doing and would, like, definitely check on me if I disappeared or something. There are people that would know. There are people that keep tabs on me, and I think that's positive to, like, know that there are people out there that have your back. But I think what's hard for me is that I've had such intense experiences in life that, and there's just so much going on in my head with regards to those, like all this processing and like all this, just also the sensory intensity. Like today I spent my Friday evening, which, like, it really hit me when I just texted this girl that I got her phone number the other day, and she's like, "What are you doing with what are you doing with your Friday night?" And I was like, I sat in my house alone, and I didn't say exactly this, but I said something pretty close, because I was like, I just don't care if somebody likes me or not, to be honest, because if they don't like me at the outset, most likely they're not going to like who I actually am in the long run, because, like, that first impression, I can't really, like, lie to you and give you something better than what is actually there. My chair's all fucking squeaky. Maybe that'll help. But what I notice is that I don't feel like I connect that well to people, because I don't think most people have had similar experiences. But then also, like, I look at, like, I've been hyperfixated on attachment theory lately, and how it, like, connects to all of human experiences, and especially in the West with, like, our culture, like how our culture sort of impacts and creates insecure attachment and, like, unhealthy relationships with other people, because of, like, how much pressure there is on everybody, to, like, be successful, quote unquote. But it, like, I've been through some pretty intense, like, poverty, and I definitely felt like I met more people in New Mexico that understood. Um, it was easier to, like, connect with people, and, like, we had similar experiences that we could connect on, of hardship, and then that would bring us closer, and then we could talk about deeper stuff and align on a lot of it. But I find that definitely here, and I still adore this place, and I meet a lot of really solid people here, especially when I first got here. It was weird. Like, when I first got here, it's almost like I made the majority of the really close connections. They're still trickling in, for sure, but there was this big flourish of connections right when I got here, and a lot of them have stayed, connections for me, which is unusual from what I understand. Most people like leave, and so you lose most of your people. I still have a fair number of those, and we can go deep on stuff. We may not all agree on things, but we can go deep on stuff. But what I do find is that I feel as though I am disconnected from people in regards to being understood for the most part. And especially, like, I think some of it actually is that consumer culture has really impacted, especially like romantic relationships, in such a way where everybody's always looking for the next best thing. And there's like too many connections almost. I actually don't think it's healthy. I think there are things that we're losing that are natural human things, and people will say, oh, just evolve. I think it's a cop-out. I actually think a lot of what people are calling evolution and calling like the next progression of human relationships and all this stuff, is actually just really insecure attachment and people not wanting to address it directly. And so they'll be, super frivolous with their connections. And I think that works okay until you hit like 35, 40, and then people start realizing like, oh, I really want kids actually. And like, there do exist, communities and ways and places and people that will have kids just like in a commune setting. But I look at, the 60s, right? And that happened before. And for a lot of the women in that, they kind of just really got the bad end of that. Well, men too. I mean, people just kind of it didn't very often didn't work out well for anybody involved. The kids, ended up with weird circumstances. The parents both ended up with weird circumstances. And I think there is some of our nature, and we're really trying to it's weird how much people that will talk about how much they hate the patriarchy and capitalism and all this stuff will live the most conformed life to exactly what would be most beneficial to the ruling class. Everybody is a free agent and they're all separate, and we don't develop any deep connections. It's all fragmented and very surface level, and we all have to buy separate stuff, and we all have to have our own housing, and all have our own cars and pay all of our own bills. And here there's more sharing for sure, but it's like a hyper individualistic thing still. I see through the nonsense. A lot of people like to call it very together, but it's very cliquish, very isolated, and not very deep most of the time. If you bring up for example, if you bring up any negative emotions, there's very toxic positivity going on where it's like, oh, if you have negative emotions, you must be a bad person. That's the impression. And so I'm getting this connection to the outside human perspective, because I spent a lot of time basically very isolated in very remote places. And that's still what this is, but this is definitely more mainstream culturally than what I'm accustomed to. Closer to there's a lot of people from California here, a lot of people from bigger cities, who are bringing whatever weird culture is currently existing in big cities in the US, right, into this place and kind of melding it with a lot of stuff I can tell is just very trendy, right? And so, they're looking at us like, this is the next evolution of humanity. Wow, it's so amazing. And I'm like, bruh, this is just trendy right now. you think it's so rebellious and so beautiful and amazing and new and spiritual and all this stuff. It's the same shit as it ever was, man. Just with different wrapping on it, you know? It's often very insecure. Insecure in the sense, the thing is, it's very ego-driven. So people are like living in their ego, and they call it being in their heart, and they call it being spiritual, but it's like very ego-driven and very like just insecure, refusing to confront insecurities, refusing to like integrate the shadow fully. It's like the full intellectualization of emotions, never really feeling, never really connecting deeply. And yeah, I just feel very like isolated in that way, because I don't think that there's like a place for that anymore. And I used to see more of it, but I think like we've become a almost entirely surface level species where we had these more complex networks, and now it's kind of like, well, I'll try this person on like a set of clothes for a day, and then I'll try the next person on for a set of clothes for a day. And even attempting to develop those deeper connections, it's almost like you're seen as like abusive or something, like you're not allowed to do that. That's not permitted. So it's very lonely, because humans naturally do that. Like, that's part of being a human. And it's like, who has managed to like convince humans in such large numbers not to do that at all? Like, to completely shut that off, like wholesale, and be like, no, that's not acceptable. We don't do that. It's really strange. And I know that that's not universal here, and that might in part be because I'm new enough in this place that, like, you know, you spend more time here and people take you more seriously. That might be more what people were trying to say when they talked about that. Like, okay, you know, you go there, it's going to take a long time for people to trust you and open up to you. And I understand, you know, having lived in New Mexico for so long, it takes a long time for people to believe that you're going to stick around, because a lot of people come and they have these big grandiose visions and dreams, and they are encountered with the harsh reality of the high desert and the lack of water and the lack of resources and the harshness sometimes of the people, although the people sometimes are very beautiful too. It's the same thing. This place is like a mirror image, you know. It's like opposite but the same, you know. Green and lush and beautiful and lots of rain and all this stuff, but also sometimes the people can be really harsh. Sometimes they can be beautiful, but also really harsh at the same time. Yeah, it's just strange, you know. I spent my Friday night alone working on the plumbing for my house, mulling over a recent breakup. That was an interesting one, because usually in relationships, I am like thinking to myself, like, man, like, I see the things I did wrong. This sucks. Like, I feel so bad for doing things. I wish I could like take the things back that I did that were bad, you know, or the mean things I did, or the mean things I said, or whatever. And like, you know, try to do things like more in a more light way, a more positive way. This relationship didn't really feel like that. I really felt like I did this one very well. Like, I think I did an exemplary job, and I don't usually feel that way about my way of relating. I usually feel very self-critical. But this one was like, no, I was like on point the whole time. And it ended in a very like I was just sort of being like lighthearted and almost like playful. It was kind of like playful, like poking at the partner, because we had been through this cycle of like kind of an on again, off again thing. It's kind of a avoidant, anxious push-pull dynamic, and so it's just like a little bit playful about it. And this is someone who's aware of it, and it's not like they're like someone who's just like completely like in that box and they don't know what's going on at all. They were aware of it, and I was very slightly playful about it, and they really shut down really hard and clamped down and shut, and it was like, wow, we made so much progress together, and then just that clampdown comes, and it's just like boom, shut. And I realized like that avoidant attachment style is like, that is culturally American. Like that is the norm. Anything else is like seen as like abhorrent, like bad, evil, scary. Even anxious attachment is like evil, much less secure. Like secure attachment, dude, there's no place for it in America. That's why there's so few people that are that way. Because it's not even like socially acceptable here. Like there's no place for it. Having boundaries, knowing who you are, like being like honest and straightforward about things at the outset, like you're gonna be alone, dude. You're gonna not find anybody, because like literally nobody can handle that. That's too much for everybody. So you end up insecure, because you'll have you might even work through it and be secure. Like I felt really good about where I was at, and I do still, I think, but I had a little moment of like, dude, I did everything right and it still blew up, and it was so good. Like we were so well aligned, our dreams and goals were the same, and they were I felt very pure and very like down to earth. Like we wanted kids, and we had similar goals for the land and all this stuff, and we had good adventure together, and good play, like we inner child stuff happening, and all of this, and then just insecure attachment comes back, hits like a ton of bricks, and we're just back to like, what? Okay, I guess I'm not going to talk to you, because if I talk to you, you're going to clamp shut, and I kind of feel like I'm wasting my time by pushing, or trying, and obviously like pushing or trying, like having to pursue someone like that is obviously like a waste, because like if they don't choose you, like why bother, but it feels to me like we reinforce and enable some really insecure and very like damaging behaviors culturally, and I think we're just slowly all drifting apart further and further, and we think we're getting closer, right? Like definitely I've picked up on the thought, like collective thought of everyone, especially around here, that are just like, oh man, we're approaching like a singularity, like we're gonna all merge into one big homunculus at some point. Like not quite that, but like that's sometimes the thought that I hear in the collective consciousness here, and it's like it couldn't be further from the truth. Like everybody is like devaluing connection to such an extreme that you can't be anything but surface level, and they just kind of use all this, I like to call it spiritual falsetto. It's like oh, I'm in the highest alignment and I'm so beautiful, and if you can't figure that out, that's too bad, basically. And it's like, you're full of shit. You're all full of shit. You just don't want to face that, You don't want to like actually have to like, like wring out your fucking demons and like look at them, You'd rather just like close it all up, bury it, and then be like, oh, so fancy. Wow, look at me. It's like, so fuck you. You're so full of shit. It's a whole culture. And it's like, keep in mind, I am a person who's like, very much like in tune with the synchronicities in my life, and really like, the psychic abilities are a thing. It's real. It exists. Aliens are real. They exist. Like, religion is ridiculous. That's not what I'm talking about. It's like just this fake unity, this fake community thing, as a substitute for the much harder thing of like resolving conflicts together, building community together. I think it's a ploy. I have to feel like it's a ploy, because like, who else would want us to be so divided and so like not connected, so like not understanding each other? But then I also kind of think maybe that just, this is the maybe more arrogant side. It's like, well, maybe it's just because I think a lot and my brain is doing a lot of stuff, and maybe I'm like intelligent or something. I feel like an idiot, but maybe I'm like intelligent or something, and that means that like I have a hard time connecting with people because I'm just thinking on this level that's like hard for a lot of people to grasp. And it's like, how do I solve that? Because I do really feel like human connection is important. Keep in mind, something I really hate, by the way, too, is this like you have to do everything by yourself epidemic, which is like, why does that exist? Because like we know that humans are a social species, but it's like this propaganda that's designed to divide us, and so many people buy into it. They're like, well, if you're not feeling good and you're lonely, you should like resolve all of that by yourself, before you go out and socialize. That way nobody else has to look at you that way, you know. Like, that's not right though. Like, you should be able to like ask, be like, hey man, like I'm feeling kind of sad and down and alone right now, and I just need like somebody to fucking give a shit about me. And that should be a thing that exists, and like even like a context for vulnerability, for romance and all these things. Like, people should be okay with being vulnerable, being sad, and you know, being picked up by others and cared for by others. That it's like, why is that considered like gross, you know? Because like there is like energy vampirism that exists. There are insecure people and like narcissists and stuff who will like try to like take over other people, like steal other people's energy that way. But that's not the majority. Like, if you feel sad, man, you feel sad, and like you deserve fucking hugs, and you deserve to be able to tell somebody that you, maybe some friend or acquaintance that like, or like potential partner, that you're like, hey man, I feel kind of sad, and like I'm having a hard time right now, like the world is hard. I think that's a lot of it too, by the way. Is I think something about the people here is a lot of them they do come from like wealthy backgrounds. There are people that like struggled, and like myself, like went through hell to get here, and are still like really having to put a lot in to make this happen. And like I see like older people here that get it, you know, like the like I think it's the Kapuna, the older, I don't know, I'm not good with the Hawaiian words here, I'm sorry, I shouldn't even try, but the older people here get it when I talk to them directly. Like, the people that are actually like have lived here their whole life, they understand a lot of the time. If I just like describe what I'm going through, they'll get it. And the poverty that I've been through and stuff, like it's not a foreign concept to them. But a lot of these kids, especially like it's pretty easy. Like, I'm sorry, all you trust fund kids, but like, even if you say you don't have any wealth in your family, like I can kind of read you. It's just a lack of like deep understanding of life, you know. It's like a lack of wisdom, and you can just read it from a distance in someone, the way they carry themselves, the things they talk about, topics that are important to them, the way they think. It's pretty easy to read, and it becomes really obvious that they came from wealth, or like they've had a pretty easy life. And when someone's had a hard life, you can tell, you can read it, you can see it. And I don't think that most of the wealthier people, especially the kids, have a lot of compassion. I know of someone, like there's this person that's kind of a role model of mine, and I think he's an interesting case because he's older, he's had hard times, and he's also wealthy and had good times. And he talked a little while back about compassion in a video, and also like we had a long conversation, and I think it brought out some compassion in him too. It was just like, I notice this happens with people when I talk to them. If inevitably I just accidentally open up and I start talking to them about my life experiences, and I try really hard not to. I try not to like trauma dump or whatever they call it. I think, by the way, trauma dump is a fucked up term, because are we trauma dumping, or are we like connecting on this basis of our shared experiences? Or maybe not shared experiences, maybe I just need you to know me and see me and understand who I am and how I got here. you know? Because that, like, a lot of the time I spend understanding other people, and I will, like, validate experiences sometimes where internally I'm like, I don't know if, like, this is a good, like, a fair reaction. Like, I don't know if the way that you're reacting is, like, justified, but, like, I'm not going to judge you on that basis. I'm just going to, like, be here for you because for you this is intense. And so, like, I will be there for you because you deserve to have somebody there for you, because that's what I would want somebody to do, even if they felt like my experience wasn't that hard. Because I know of people that have had much harder experiences than me, and they've been there for me, you know. But I feel like oftentimes I encounter people that, when somebody's compassionate about it, I feel like I awaken compassion in people sometimes, because they're like, holy shit, like, this guy's been through some shit. And what's crazy for me is, like, I know of people who have been through so much worse. I know comparison is the thief of joy and stuff, but, like, I don't even feel like my experiences are a big deal. But then I, like, say it out loud and I'm like, whoa, that just came out of my mouth, and, like, that is real for me. Like, that's stuff I went through, and it's like, I see other people and they're just like, and they don't even know how to process what I just said to them. Like, they have no concept in their mind or, like, framework that, like, this is part of humanity and can happen to a person. They can't even, like, grasp it to any level. And there's two things that can happen when that happens. Either it awakens compassion in them, or they already had compassion and they are compassionate. They're like, oh, sorry you went through that. That's actually very rare. Out of probably 100 people that have that, end up squeezing that out of me, 5, like 5%, 5 out of 100 actually will react with compassion. The other 95% kind of, like, shut it down, try to change the topic, don't really want to talk about it. And I think that reaction has a lot to do with just, it's like they don't have and this is people that it seems as though they in that moment they have the space for it, like, but they have space for you to be like, oh man, the garbage man didn't come today, or like, oh man, my food was a little bit cold, like, that's my horrible trauma from today. Like, that's the space they have for, like, emotional processing, because that's, like, the depth of their experience. Not, or, oh, my butler, did this thing wrong, whatever. Not like, I accidentally ran over my own dog and had to, like, hold it as it, like, died a horrible agonizing death in my arms and shit itself on my car seat, and I was bawling my eyes out, and the girl who was, like, cheating on her boyfriend and, like, halfway pretending like she liked me was, like, pretend comforting me, and all of that happening all at once. That's a very tiny little memory snippet of my life. Like, that's a tiny one, because I'm not going to share the real vulnerable shit on camera, obviously, to a public audience, but it's a little tiny fucking little snippet, right? And, just like, I feel like, the wealthy kids, they don't have the ability to process the real hard shit, and so they also don't have the ability to make deep connections. I'm gonna be real. Like, for them, like, living in poverty is like a fun thing, because they can always go back to being wealthy. Like, it's not like, no, I had to work my ass off for every fucking step to get here. Like, and it was hundreds of steps, and it was a pain in the ass, and I have health problems because of it. Like, wealthy kids don't get that. Like, they don't understand that, like, you can have like long-term health conditions because your life has been so fucking hard. Like autoimmune diseases because your life has been so fucking hard. They don't, like, that doesn't click for them. They don't even have a reference point for that. They could hear those words, but they can't understand it. And so I do find it's hard to connect often with people. Like, there's very few people that make it as long as I've been here, even, it seems like, that are the way I am. Unless they are, like, local and they've been here their whole life. And the younger locals, I still haven't been here long enough, I think, to be taken seriously by them. They're like, okay, once you're here, like, 5 years, we'll start to talk to you, you know? I have been adopted by some, like, of the uncles and the aunties, for sure. But the, like, you know, the locals that are, like, my age also, they're very much, like, into, like, every haole needs to leave or whatever, or, like, you know, just the women. Like, we'll only keep the haole women. The haole men are, like, a waste of space. That's how I often feel. That might be my perception, too. I might be, like, overly sensitive or whatever, but that's how it feels sometimes. It's like, oh, you're, like, a haole man. Like, I can't, like, get with you in a relationship, so, like, you're the haole I don't want here, even though, like, you're not doing anything to hurt me or anything. But, like, you know, so it's just it's a lonely existence for sure. And it was lonely before I came here. I mean, I spent years kind of just doing my own thing, having very little, like, human interaction. The majority of my human interactions were, like, you know, phone calls, texting, Discord messages, and I go do stuff. That's the thing. Like, I'm not this person that's, like, isolated. Like, I go out. I go to I'm not gonna, like, tell all the places I go, because I'm just, again, data I don't want to give to the algorithm. But I go do a lot of different little things all the time, and I be out among people in public places where I get to talk to people and receive social connection from people. But it just feels like there's not a lot of people that are like me out there. Like, I'm not just unique, but, like, hyper unique, and it's hard sometimes to be this unique in this world. I don't feel deeply connected to people for the most part. Yeah, that's basically it. And so, you know, I'm a little sad when I spend my Friday night by myself, because I just think, I'm like, there's nobody that's, like, calling me and they're like, hey, let's go out and do something. Like, I hit people up and I just get, like, no response or something. Like, nobody even, like, you know. So I kind of gave up on putting the effort in, because it's like, most of the time people don't want to interact with me or, like, want to spend time with me. So I just don't bother. It kind of sucks, you know. It's, like, kind of sad. It's like, because I know that, like, the way I show up, I'm being, like, you know, simultaneously I have my boundaries. I feel like I'm doing it all correctly, you know, like, and I feel good about the way I do things, you know. I try to have good boundaries, but I also try to, you know, give a little bit of who I actually am to people when I meet them, so we both have a chance to, like, really meet each other and not just have small talk crap. I think a lot of it also has to do with just, like, neurodivergent to neurotypical communication differences. Like, everyone wants to think they're neurodivergent, but yeah, I believe the statistics. I think it's about 1%. So, you know, everybody that's out there thinking that they're neurodivergent, it's probably about 1% of us, to be honest with you. And, like, it's very hard to connect, because everybody else is playing all these weird social games that don't make sense. And you might be playing them a lot better than you think. Especially if you have, like, a fair number of friends and stuff. Like, I have some very deep connections that are very old, that have been my whole life or a lot of my life, but I don't really make new ones. And it's hard when you're doing stuff like, you know, trying to date and stuff. You're just like, you know, I get a lot of, like, frivolous, like, I'm sure that I could have lots of one night stands. I mean, I have done, but I don't really feel like I get the opportunity to, like, develop a long-term relationship. That's the hard part. It just, because, like, I think a lot of the time I scare people, because I can, like, see aspects of them that are better off hidden, in their opinion. You know, like, people don't like to go deep. They want like surface level stuff, and they want to keep that surface level. Even like I said, the avoidant attachment is pervasive throughout our whole culture. It's not just not just one-off things. It's like everybody's that way. Everybody. And it's very, I'd say, anxious attachment is like a small percentage, and then secure attachment is like a teeny weeny percentage. I think there's somebody that does work with him. I saw a video of his, and he said that like 30-something% or less are securely attached, and then the majority are insecure attachment. But yeah, everybody's avoidant, man. It's an avoidant culture, and it's brutal. That's part of why I love Polynesians, Pacific Islander cultures. Like, people are in your face. Like, they will say exactly what's on their mind and kick your ass with it. They'd be like, hey man, I think you're fucking stupid. They'll just like say it out loud. Or they'll be like, they won't say, generally they're not mean like that, but they're just, you know where you stand with someone. And like, there's a lot of like big feelings. Like, if somebody really likes you, they'll freaking grab you and give you a big bear hug, like, where you stand. And I don't feel like with like a lot of these rich kids from the West, like trust fund kids, they're very common here. They're everywhere, and especially like kids from California, kids from New York. I'm not dissing California or New York. That's not the point. It's just a lot of them don't have life experience. It's just plain and simple. Their life experience is like down to just being in fully developed, fully human areas all the time. They haven't like done a lot of deep dives into like who they are, how humans actually work, how things work, how the world works. They just have like their little subset of reality that they understand. And if you go outside of that little box, it's like, I don't know how to talk about that. And I'm like, I've both analyzed your experience and also my weird experience and also this person over there. Like, you want to go to any of those places, I can talk about it, but you may not like the way that I talk about it because I might go a little deeper than you want to, That's always the problem. I feel like I go deeper than most people want to. Most people are not comfortable going where I go with stuff. And it's not always negative. Like, a lot of the time it's like people want to like talk shit about somebody, like have this like conflict oriented conversation. I'll just be like, I can see their perspective and I can see your perspective, and maybe it'd be helpful to just like see both of your perspectives at the same time and zoom out and like look at things from like a system perspective rather than from a just you and this person and like your little tiny conflict, because it's really just a tiny little conflict. And I try not to patronize people if I can help it, but it's just like thinking about systemic rather than this little tiny box, like that. People don't like that. They want you to validate their like, I hate this person. And it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if the girl I was dating is like out there like, this person did me wrong somehow. And it's like, I know I didn't. I know I actually like showed up in the best conceivable way based upon everything I was given, as information from this person. I like really know I showed up in like the purest, cleanest, healthiest, nicest way. And like they loved it until it got too good or something, and then they just slammed shut. That was rough, man. Just like, because it's so good and so pure, and so healthy. What, like, that's not attractive, I guess. It's got to be like shitty in some way. It's got to suck in some way. It's got to be abusive or something. Otherwise, you don't like it. We can sprinkle like the abusiveness. Even we can sprinkle like some play with that. Some role playing and shit in there. It's still no fun. Like, no, it's got to be genuinely painful. Otherwise, you don't like want it. It's like, and this person understands attachment. It just so frustrating, It's like, you can't win, It's like everybody's just broken in this society, and I feel like I'm right there with them because I'm getting so just burnt out by everything, being difficult to genuinely connect. Anyway, my nighttime thoughts by candlelight out here in the jungle. I feel a little better now. This is my therapy. This is one of my forms of therapy, just talking to the camera. So I'm going to go to bed, and hopefully that did something for somebody out there, made you feel a little less alone or something. Take care. I'm sure tomorrow will be in some way better, but you know what? It doesn't have to be. It could be just as shitty as today, and I would still survive it. But it could be great too. There's actually a big party thing happening tomorrow. That might be fun. Like a town-wide thing. So, we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching. Aloha.